G'day folks and welcome to the Vookcast, Australia's Nintendo podcast. My name's Oliver Brandt and with me this week are Michael Goncalves,
Hey team.
Angelo Valdivia,
Hey paisanos.
and Luke Henderson.
Why, hello there.
We've got a great episode lined up for you this week, all about some long-awaited NSO games, a couple of strange Switch ports, some upcoming concerts, and our predictions for the year ahead. But first, let's talk about Palworld. So, anyone who's been on the internet the past week or so has seen Palworld being a thing. A lot of people call it Pokemon with guns, which is not an unfair assessment to make because it is essentially Pokemon with guns. And that comparison has gotten it into a little bit of controversy. So it's basically a crafting survival game that's like Ark or Rust, but instead of like dinosaurs or, I don't know, does Rust have monsters?
No.
This one has silly little creatures that look a lot like Pokemon, and almost too much like Pokemon, as people have been accusing it of plagiarism basically since it was announced, but now that it's out, those accusations have ramped up pretty significantly. So in a pretty rare statement, the Pokemon Company responded to the allegations, I guess, saying that they've gotten a lot of emails about it. They haven't granted any permission for Pokemon IP to be used in the game, and that they're essentially looking into it and they'll take appropriate measures if there's any infringement going on. This could also be referring to mods. There was a mod that just straight up added Pokemon to the game, and Nintendo took that down right quick. Yeah. Let's talk about Palworld. What a strange game that is. Has anybody actually played it?
No.
No?
Nope.
So I tried it a little bit just before it came out for work, and it's a survival crafting game where you punch trees and build bases, and it's just Ark, but with Pokemon. But it does have a lot of stuff that are... I mean, it's very obvious that the little creatures that are in the game are heavily inspired by Pokemon.
But isn't it
even
also
like
like a management sim as well? Like you get them specifically to do tasks so you can build things
Yeah,
and get
so
more
it
resources,
has like,
etc.
Factorio style stuff where you like automate like the crafting of things and smelting and all of that with the creatures that you've got, and you can even like, unlock the ability to give the little not Pokemon guns, and then they can go out and hunt and bring things back and all of that. So yeah, it's very much a mishmash of all sorts of different genres, or at least all sorts of different mechanics from different genres. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's exactly like copyright infringement levels of plagiarism. Like, there's not like, this is a Pikachu, right? There's things that are like, this is very similar to another thing that exists in Pokemon. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird situation.
From the outset, I've always said this is Pokemon with guns because it looks like Pokemon with guns.
Yeah.
But it's also been, 2 years since it was like first announced? And if the Pokemon Company were really concerned about how much some of the Palworld creatures look like Pokemon, they'd have done something long before now.
And I think that's the big thing about it, right? Is that like, it was announced in late 2021. So it's had like, 2.5 years ish for somebody to do something about it. It's gone viral basically every other week since it was announced. It got a Game Pass deal. It, was hugely hyped in the week before launch. If the Pokemon Company thought there was infringement going on, they probably would have done something about it before then. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think there's no denying that there's plagiarism. A lot of the designs are very much plagiarized. But that's a high bar to meet, in a court of law.
I was thinking about this the other day. When you look at, if you know Pokemon, you look at this game, you see Pokemon, right? It's very hard not to. But when you like if I look at a Digimon game, I don't think Pokemon, right? Because Digimon has a definite style to it. Pokemon has its own style. All these games that monster catching related, so Monster Rancher that's got a remaster, whatever, just recently, that has its own style. So all these games have their own unique style, and there's no doubt that Palworld is definitely embracing the style of Pokemon. Whether or not they're copying and pasting assets from different Pokemon to make up their own, I don't know if that's the case, but they're definitely using that Pokemon aesthetic to help engage with people. And I think if they're willing to do that and they can do that, then sure. But I don't know if the game's going to survive on that alone. And it is only in early access. It's not even officially released yet, so who knows what the game will look like by the time it actually does release too. So that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, I think as well, one of the other things that I was speaking to this about this with a coworker is that part of the reason it's kind of an effective game and it's like captured so many people's attention is because it is something that is very familiar in a context that you never see that in. So it's like these are things that look a lot like Pokemon but aren't Pokemon. And you're butchering them to get meat or giving them guns to go out and shoot other things. And like having that familiarity and changing the context entirely is kind of what things like parody are built upon. And it's not necessarily parody because the person who made it genuinely thinks that it's an original thing. But I think it's effective for a lot of people in the same way that parody is effective for a lot of people because it does recontextualize that familiarity. But I mean, it didn't do anything for me because I hate that kind of game.
So can I ask, this is the thing, is that when it comes to parody usually has a message, like it has a point, like there is a reason for the parody. So what is the point of this game? Like, what is the story?
I don't think it's parody at all. Like, I don't think they could argue parody for this game, period.
Like apart from the fact that it's Pokemon with guns, is there a point to playing the game? Like, is there a story? Is there a plot?
There's no story. It's in the same way that there's no story for something like Rust, right? Where you're just sort of thrown into an area and you kind of have to survive. It's
right.
But Rust gameplay, yes.
But Rust doesn't pride itself on being a parody or
No.
anything like that, right? Or a satire. It has a point in that it is a game in its own right that puts forward a different experience or something like that. Whereas this, apart from the fact that it's Pokemon with guns, I don't see anything. Like that's why it doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't do anything for me because there's nothing really going on in it.
No, but that's why honestly, that's why I think they've gone ahead and used the Pokemon style to create their critters. Because if they had to create completely original critters in their own unique style, it wouldn't have grabbed the attention that it has. People wouldn't care that it's a game with little monsters that you use to farm and rah. Instead of Ark with dinosaurs, it'd be Ark with generic monster, right? So I think that's the whole reason they've gone for this style, is because they found a way to make it either their own or distinguished enough that people can't link it directly to, but they used that to draw in people. And I see it all the time. People going, "Oh, it looks like Pokemon, but Nintendo would never do this," and people are like so hyped on that fact. It's like, okay.
Yeah, but if everyone's calling it Pokemon with guns, then that kind of blows that theory out of the water. I feel like sure, there is a distinction between the fact that this is not Pokemon, but if everyone is calling it Pokemon with guns, then there is a significant hook there that's getting at least people who have grown out of Pokemon into a game like this. But like even going back to what you were saying before, Luke, like with Digimon, how you A and B experiences have just critters in them that partner up with people. But at least like something like Digimon even had like a completely different storyline. The whole thing was that you only have one monster, they evolve and then de-evolve, etc. Even something like Monster Rancher, where again you're collecting creatures and things like that. There were different circumstances around how you sort of collect those creatures and get new ones and stuff, particularly in gameplay when it was about sort of music-based or data-based, how you can mix and match different CDs and things to get different critters. Like, I look at something like this, and again, it doesn't really appeal to me because I don't understand what, apart from the fact that it's just some grotesque kind of bastardization of Pokemon. Like, there's nothing in there that seems particularly substantial or like an experience that I would want to put money down for. So I'm kind of confused as to what it is that people are actually liking about this game. Because if it is just like poking fun at Pokemon, and it is just another survival game. Like, so what?
That's
like,
it.
There are,
I mean,
survival games are a dime a dozen.
Survival crafting games are very popular, and like that, at the end of the day, like any survival crafting game that has an even remotely unique hook is gonna attract a lot of players. Like, I don't think Sons of the Forest had any kind of unique hook compared to basically any other survival game in recent history.
Some of them do their horror, because generally like a survival game has like horrific elements to them. So the way that they do their horror or their sort of thrills usually are the hook, right? Like there is something in there that sort of draws people in. Whereas like even the survival part of this game like isn't particularly interesting, right? Like, there's nothing really going on there. It's just the fact that it's Pokemon with guns.
Yeah, and I mean like that's I don't know. As I said, it's not really interesting to me because it is just another survival horror game. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's engaging for a lot of people. I don't understand why. I don't know why you would play this over something like Ark or any other established game, apart from the fact that. Yeah.
I think it's just that, like, it's just one of those, the big, heavily streamable game of the moment. That's basically what it is, right? It'll probably die over soon, or I'll eat my hat.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's a ton of people playing it though. Like, there's currently 1.4 million people playing it. It's wild. Yeah, it's the second most played game in Steam history, in terms of like pure concurrence, behind like literally just PUBG.
Is there any content that's announced for the game or anything?
They've got like a full-on roadmap. Yeah, they've got like. I mean, there will be a story at some point. There isn't one in the game now, but again, it is early access, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff that will change. But you know, there's going to be PvP and you know, raids that you team up with people to do that with.
When's V1 released?
They say that they expect it'll be in early access for about a year, so sometime next year.
Okay. I guess we'll see how it goes over the next year.
Yeah. But yeah, it does have an absurd amount of people playing it. I mean, 8 million people have bought it on Steam alone, and then we know that there's like it's on Game Pass as well, so it's being played by tens of millions of people. And yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right, Angelo, that it'll probably die out in, you know, a month's time, and then like in a year and a half or 2 years we'll hear, oh, it's coming out in version 1, and then nobody will really give a shit about it because they'll be on to the next big streamer hit. But yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. I do not think it's going to get sued by Pokemon on Nintendo. I think at most they'll get an angry letter saying, hey, don't infringe us, and that'll be that.
I suspect a few of the designs might get a little bit more attention because there are some that do look quite similar. But I don't think it's going to be enough to shut it down. No,
definitely not.
I just don't really get why anyone really gives a shit, to be honest. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
I'm not Nintendo. I'm not whoever this company is. Like,
they do their own thing. I see that meme all the time. They're like, stop harassing the billion-dollar company. They can't do...
Not the IP of the billion-dollar corporation. What will we
do? That's the thing, is like people are getting so heated and so angry about it online, and it's like, who cares? Like, genuinely, if there's a legal problem, then two corporations with more money than sense will fight it out in Japanese courts. Like, who gives a shit?
Let the rich people fight it out. We don't need to worry about it.
How often do we see the Nintendo lawyers pop up? Like, we see it all the time. Somebody does something with a Nintendo IP, and then within like a week, the Nintendo lawyers have taken it down or sent cease and desist letters.
Within like 24 to 48 hours. It's never that long.
I don't think anyone ever sees the Nintendo lawyers, man. Those guys just cut throats in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, somebody posted a video of the Pokemon mod for Palworld, and it was like taken off Twitter like within 12 hours. Like, it was just almost immediately gone because Nintendo's lawyers got involved. So
that's actually impressive on Twitter, because getting anything taken off Twitter at the moment is incredible. So,
like, the fact that, like, and like, Nintendo must have some pretty impressive lawyers in order to be able to do that. Like, I don't know. There's like actual like illegal content on Twitter that like takes weeks and weeks and weeks to get taken down. But like, somebody posts a video of a mod for a game and like Nintendo's lawyers have it sorted out within 12 hours. It's just absurd.
I think the Mario Brothers movie was up longer than 12 hours.
Yeah, it was like quite a while, like in its entirety. That was up for like a good 2 days, I think. So yeah, Pokemon gets it done apparently.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next topic. Finally, Golden Sun is on Switch. So after like literally a year of not talking about it at all, and after it had announced it, not only Golden Sun, which is the one that was announced, but Golden Sun 2 also came to the Switch, Nintendo Switch Online. They're great, always have been, always will be, and we only just have F-Zero Maximum Velocity left to go in terms of GBA games that have been announced. So, see you in 3 months when we talk about that.
I will say, when I was talking with Vook after I got back from a trip, and we were talking about things and getting assets ready and all that sort of stuff, I had this inkling that, Golden Sun would be announced soon. So I did the art for it, and then I was like, I suspect Nintendo will do something stupid and put both games out at once. So I made the art for it, and they did, and I was so happy that my Nintendo would do this is because Nintendo like to screw with us. Expectation came true. So I was very happy with that.
They've got their big screw Luke chart, and it's like, yep, this is the one.
They saw me out the window of their office when I was in Kyoto.
Yeah. So I've been replaying Golden Sun on Nintendo Switch Online. It is very good. There is one kind of like annoying Nintendo thing, and that's that there isn't like a simple way to transfer your save data. You can transfer it to somebody else because there's basically in Golden Sun that the games connect, so you can send with like the data between the two games to have like names of characters and all sorts of other things transfer over. And on the GBA, you could do it via a link cable, or if you were like sending it to another console, or you can do it via a password. Now the passwords can be up to 260 characters long. It's a very ridiculous password. Like if you've 100%ed Golden Sun 1 and you want to transfer all of that over to Golden Sun 2, that's like 260 characters that you have to put in.
I remember writing my password at the end of Golden Sun into the booklet, and how was I? I was like 16 or 17 at the time. I remember writing it in, and then I was running out of space, so I was turning the booklet around, and I was writing, and then turning it around again. Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, unfortunately, there's really no way to transfer. You can't just like open up the app and transfer it to yourself. It's kind of annoying. You can use like the link. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, just like confused. I was just reading the article that Vook wrote. Is it Vook? I don't know who wrote it. Yeah, it was Vook. It says the link cable system is there. Is that not there?
The link cable system is there, but you can't have two versions of your own account open with Nintendo Switch Online at the same time. So you can only send your save data to another person. Because that's how multiplayer works on Nintendo Switch Online. You can't connect to your own account. So it does work exactly like it used to. Except
when I read that, I just assumed that they just made a system where you can just be like, transfer my save to Golden Sun 2. Like,
here's the really annoying thing, is that in Japan there is a system for Fire Emblem. One of the Fire Emblem games lets you transfer your save data to the next game, and they built a system that lets you do that without having to have a second console. They only used it for that one game in Japan, and it's like it works. It's perfectly fine. You could do it like on a number of other games as well. Like it would be nice if you could do it with Oracle of Ages and Seasons, because that had link cable transfers as well, and those do work over the internet, but you can't do that with your own game. It's just like the most stupid thing is that they have this system and it works perfectly fine, and they're just not using it.
Well, as I've said it before when we see this sort of stuff, but Nintendo gonna Nintendo.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have this problem with emulation, I'm telling you.
Well,
these are emulators and we have this problem, so...
No, I'm talking about real big boy emulation.
I mean, I think I don't know. Obviously, you can just open 2 instances of the emulator and then transfer it to yourself like that. But like, it's not an elegant process in emulators either. But it's better than nothing, which is what we currently have.
Mr. literally has a special Game Boy Advance core that lets you run 2 Game Boy Advances. So actually, literally do exactly this.
But the important thing is that despite the fact that you're gonna have to type in 260 fucking characters, you can play Golden Sun and Golden Sun 2 on Nintendo Switch. So there's really no reason to ever play anything else.
With all the weirdness around transfers, can we just acknowledge the fact that Nintendo didn't tell us Golden Sun 2 was coming? We all assumed it would eventually. But, it could have been Golden Sun 1 this year, then another 12 months later we get Golden Sun 2. But the fact they dropped it at the same time is a very nice inclusion.
Well, like, kind of the annoying, like, it would have been annoying if they had done that. But like, Golden Sun 1 and 2, like, they're not really 2 separate games. They're kind of just one big game that they couldn't fit onto one cart, so they split it up. So that would have been quite annoying. But no, it was good that they put both of them on there. Yeah. As I said, we'll be back in 3 months to talk about F-Zero Maximum Velocity being added to the system, because they're not going to announce any other games.
No.
Alrighty. Couple of strange ports now. Hitman Blood Money, a game that is like, what, 10 years old now? Older?
No.
Way older.
Like 15 years? Jesus, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It was
like 2006, right?
Yeah, 2006, 2007. It came out
2006, so
like the GameCube era.
Like 18 years old, I guess.
It was a 360 game, I think, towards launch.
Yeah. Anyway, that's on Switch now. It's weird. I don't know why they did it.
It's because this is the first one in the series that had a lot of quality of life updates. Like in the games previous, you couldn't do accidental kills.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the first one where you could like poison somebody's food or rig an explosive on a chandelier. But the big thing is you can actually now jump and do proper melee combat. Whereas in the other games you couldn't do that. So this one really, the first 3 are good, but this one was the one that sort of revitalized everything and made it feel like, you could do what you wanted. And I think that's the reason why they just did this one. Yeah.
I'm gonna need everyone to go to the trailer in the article and skip forward to 25 seconds and watch the world's greatest eye-opening animation I've ever seen in my life.
What time stamp?
25 seconds.
25 seconds.
And a 30-second trailer.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. Feral Interactive, the guys who are doing this port, do not do long trailers for whatever reason.
Oh god, that sudden opening of the eyes is so dumb.
It just looks so fucking weird.
Goodness me.
I will say, because I played through this for review, and it is a phenomenal port. Feral, who again, they did the Tomb Raider games last year. They did Grid Legends, Alien Isolation. And they did something else as well, but I can't remember what it is now. But they've done some really, really good ports, bringing games to Switch. So they did a really good job with this one.
Yeah, so some of the things that they added a whole new updated UI, because in the original, the UI was very much a product of its time. There's a mini-map now, which is nice.
There was always a map in the game, but it was a constant, so you had to bring it up, and it was an overlay that went over the screen. And while it was on the screen, the game didn't pause, so people would still walk around doing things. And if you were doing something suspicious when you open up the map, while you're looking at the map, people would still see you doing suspicious shit. So, yeah.
So it's like Far Cry 2, how you can open the map while you're driving and kill yourself in real time.
Essentially.
Yeah. And it also has Instinct mode, which is basically detective vision that they added in.
Yeah, so it was in Absolution, the one that came after this game. Yeah. So Feral brought it back to this one. Oh, Company Heroes. So they did the Company Heroes port to Switch.
Yeah.
And that game also brought some features from newer games back to the original one. So.
Oh, yeah. Unrelated to Hitman, but another weird release that I just discovered only came to PlayStation. I don't know if it's on other systems in the last week or two. was Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace, as in like the video game movie tie-in. Like they just I just saw that it's on sale on the PSN at the moment.
It's
yesterday.
It's like $8
it came, like,
now on
middle of
PSN.
January.
It's one of those January. It's one of the PlayStation classic game catalog editions.
That's it. Yeah, but it like is actually brought to the platform in the middle of January.
I bought it because
PlayStation
I'm a Star Wars guy. It's 3.2 gig. That game on PS5.
That is nuts. Where did that come from?
They also did it with Star Wars Demolition, which is where you like the one that's like you got ATST on the cover art.
Yeah. It's just super weird. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only thing that like makes me not want to buy Hitman Blood Money is that it costs $40, which is like just a little bit above, I think, what it's worth. I mean, obviously they've done a lot of great work for it, and that's good. But like $30 tops is sort of my impulse buy range.
You say that. I sent them a video. I was waiting for a waiter to come back in to take a drink that I'd spiked back out to a Target, and it was in a Swiss chalet, and there were girls in sexy Santa outfits wandering around this party for rich people. And what was really funny was the same line was repeated 3 times by 3 different women as they walked past me. And I was like, okay, product of its time, I'll give it that. And then the only reason I have it on film, I recorded it, is because one of the other characters was walking in and then he flicked out of existence. He was like discoing and then he just vanished. But it happened like 3 separate times. So I sent that video to the developers and they're like, yeah, that's not meant to happen. I'm like, yeah, I kind of figured that. So, what was the other thing that they did? They did something else in the game that I thought was really cool. Oh, the only thing it's missing though is there's no backstory. So this is the 4th game in the series, and it does connect to the other titles. It's not MCU level of continuity. It's more like the DC universe of continuity, but there's references to this in this game to the game before it, and if you've not played that game, which is unlikely, there's just a lot of stuff you're missing out on. So it would have been great to have had even just like a basic comic style recap of the first 3 games or something, something simple, but just a way to give people more story about what was going on. Because why are you this bald-headed guy with a barcode on the back of his head? The game doesn't really explain that because they explained that in the first game. So,
well, fortunately for you, Luke, within about 18 months, there was the Hitman movie starring Timothy Olyphant that came out, like, to no applause whatsoever. So you can always go back and watch that to get some backstory.
They also did a second movie with a different actor as well.
Yeah. It was just called Agent 47.
That's it.
All right. The other one that is an even stranger port, I think, Ace Combat 7: Skies Unknown. It's coming to Switch in July as a deluxe edition. I genuinely have no idea how they put this on Switch, but I mean they did. It comes with a bunch of DLC. Not all of it. Unfortunately, you will not be able to play with the Top Gun DLC unless you buy it at a later date. But it does come with just a bunch of DLC, including like extra missions, a whole bunch of planes, a music player mode. I don't know. I know nothing about Ace Combat. But there's a bunch of DLC for it, and there's no pricing for that set so far, but it's probably not going to be as much as it is on PS4 and Xbox One. But the trailer that they released for it is actual Switch footage. And it looks...
Which, honestly, when they first started playing, I was watching this trailer, I'm like, that's not Switch footage. But no, it's... When they get the close-ups of the planes, okay, you can see that it's Switch footage. It's also the first time the mainline series has ever hit a Nintendo home console. There was a 3DS release of 4 or 5, and then there was a Wii spin-off called Skycrawlers, which was based around a movie that they did based on the series, which appears to have only been released on Wii, but there was never an actual Nintendo home console entry of the main series before. So That's another one across off the what series have we not got on Nintendo list.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good as far as Switch games go.
And the other thing too,
I'm watching the trailer now. I'm watching the trailer now, and it totally looks like a Switch game to me. I mean, there's not much for it to load apart from the detail of the plains and maybe some mountain ranges, because you're just in the sky, right? It's just skyboxes.
Yeah, it's the detail of the planes has always been the big calling point for the series. Like, they're super detailed. If you look at it on PS4, I don't think there's one on PS5 yet, but the last one, so 7 when it released on PS4, the detail on that was just incredible. So that's why people love this series, because they've always done full.
It's definitely a popular series.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some later in the trailer. There's like, you know, shots like as you do fly through like cities and stuff as well, and that seems to be working fine. Mountain ranges and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it looks alright. Hopefully it performs well, because that's going to be the big one.
Yeah, but it's just such a weird thing for them to do. It's not like they've said, "Hey, we're going to bring the Ace Combat series to Switch," you know, in a collection or piecemeal, you know, starting with 1. They've just jumped straight to 7 and out of nowhere.
Yeah, and just like 5 years after the fact too. Like, this game came out 5 years ago on other platforms, and now they're just here it is on Switch.
It definitely looks like it's running at 30 FPS and less.
Yeah, it's definitely 30.
Yeah.
And you can even see in the trailer that there are frame drops as well. Like, but you know, it's still like another 6 months until it comes out, so maybe they can smooth that out. But it's never going to be 60 FPS.
No,
that's for sure. All right. Well, last news story before we move on to our feature topic. Nintendo is going to hold streams for concerts for Zelda and Splatoon 3 music next month in February. So these are concerts that originally would have taken place at Nintendo Live, which is a live event that was going to take place this month, I think. It
was going to take place this weekend.
In Japan. But unfortunately had to be cancelled after the staff received all sorts of threats, which is absolutely horrible. In Japan, the merch that was going to be exclusive to Nintendo Live will also be sold online, but it probably won't be sold anywhere else. But yeah, the concerts are going ahead in early February. So you can watch those online and enjoy that stuff. But yeah, really, really awful stuff that the actual event had to be cancelled because there were going to be finals for Splatoon and Smash and all sorts of other stuff at the event as well.
Why were people threatening them? What's the story around that?
It's not really clear. Nintendo didn't really explain it all that much. They just said that the people who worked at Nintendo and people who worked at the venue received death threats and bomb threats and all sorts of other stuff. The context behind it, I'm not 100% sure. It seems to be a very Japanese-centric thing. It's kind of hard to figure out if you don't speak Japanese. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, it's not a great situation to be in for anyone.
No.
So yeah, I mean, good on Nintendo for still trying to do something with it and putting those concerts online and letting people still experience that. And hopefully the event can, happen again at some point in the future when things have cooled off a bit. But
yeah, they've this is not the first time they've done these concert series. They usually do them at Nintendo Live. A couple of years ago, they had Splatoon and Animal Crossing one, which is online. You can still get that. And there was a Kirby one that was online for a while. Then they took it down for whatever reason. Yeah. They do a lot of that sort of stuff. And as for the merch, if anyone's like super curious about it, it's basically just the Nintendo Live logo with like some icons on it. It's nothing super fancy. One of the big things, because it's big in Japan, is like these inflatable light things. So there's like a little, think like a lightsaber, very, very short. And it's like this inflatable end and they wave it around in the air at concerts and stuff. I do know, because I have a bit more detail, the orchestra for The Legend of Zelda is a 60-piece orchestra, and the show will run for about 30 minutes. And then the Splatoon one will feature the Surumurengo group, which is apparently a group from within Splatoon 3, and will run for about 40 minutes. So they're decent length.
So are these concerts that are pre-recorded, or are they performed live?
They're pre-recorded now.
Yeah, previously it would have been a thing that you go to at Nintendo Live, and it would have happened actually live. But now I guess they're recording it and putting it up instead.
Yeah, so I'm looking into these threats, and no one seems to have been able to get any more information out of Nintendo, but they put up a press release on their Japanese website that I've got translated here about the cancellation from December 7 last year. Just says here in this paragraph, reason for postponement, quote, our company has been persistently receiving threats targeting our employees, and recently the targets of these threats have spread to spectators, staff, etc. of the Splatoon Koshien 2023 national finals. So, considering safety as our top priority, we have made the decision to postpone the event. So I'm really curious as to know why people would be threatening them, has there been some sort of contention surrounding the contest itself, or I don't understand.
I mean, as I said, it's the kind of thing that would have been greatly talked about at length in Japanese social media circles, but it's just not really filtered out to an obvious reason outside of Japan.
So I'd imagine that these are threats that were made within Nintendo Japan itself, rather than an English-speaking group or something like that making some sort of threats. So probably hard to get that information, but I don't understand.
Yeah. Luke, you went to Japan.
I did.
You went to great time
quickly. Do you want to tell us about that?
Bad joke.
So I was in Japan for 9 days, and honestly, it came about because E3 was cancelled, and I had to use flight credit, and I was like, well, I haven't been to Japan for a while, so I'll go to Japan. And I honestly think I had a better time in Japan than I would have had at E3 if it had have gone ahead. But yeah, so I went to the Nintendo stores in Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka. I went to the Nintendo headquarters. I've put a picture up on the screen over here on the video. I went to Super Nintendo World, and I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be as cool as it was. I walked in there thinking it's gonna, people who know me know I go to theme parks quite a lot. But I walked in there and I had a big smile on my face. I was giddy as a little kid. It was literally like stepping into the game. I have on me, on the shelf right behind me, it's very blurry, but that's my power-up band, which is actually an amiibo. It's the most expensive amiibo I will ever own, because I had to buy a ticket to get into the park to buy it as well. But yeah, did the Mario Kart ride, and it was basically like an acid trip while you're strapped into a chair. It was so surreal because it's augmented reality. So you actually have to wear a headset, and depending on where you look, you see different things. And you're in a car with 3 other people, and you've all got to turn the car the right way to turn corners. And if you do it right, you earn coins. And you collect item boxes, and you throw turtle shells and all that sort of stuff at Bowser and his kids that are causing chaos. The Nintendo stores were full of so many cool things. I went to a Pokemon Center and I picked up a Charizard. I just had a great time. And then one of the big things I did is I went retro game hunting, and I went through probably a dozen, if not more, locations across multiple cities, checking out hardware and games. And I remember taking a photo and I shared it to the guys here, and I was like, hey, anyone want a Wii? And it was 30 odd Wiis on a shelf for 500 yen a pop. Right, there's no cables or anything with it, but it's if you just wanted a Wii to mod for whatever reason, $5, there you go. We saw consoles shrink wrapped. And I think I sent a photo too. I was in Osaka at a Super Potato, and I saw a purple Game Boy Micro. I didn't know they did a purple one, but they wanted really nice. $400 and something for it. It was insanely priced. So yeah, it was.
And there were 2 of them, and they were both shrink wrapped.
Yeah, there were two of them. They were both in boxes as well. I picked up a DSi for $27, and then I saw one that was a better color because it was red, but they wanted something like $75 or something for it. And I'm like, I already have one of those, thank you. So yeah, I just had a great time, and I bought a bunch of DS games. I bought 2 versions of SimCity and SimCity 2 on DS. Didn't know there was a SimCity 2 on DS, and I was like, that's fine, I can play this. SimCity. Yeah, and there's so much text in that game. It's very difficult to play, which I kind of expected it would be a challenge, but yeah, Google Translate on the phone has been my friend trying to play through that game, I tell you. But yeah, no, I just had a great time. And again, if you ever get a chance to go, do it. But I will say, Nintendo Australia, I have to give them credit. When I was there, and I saw a lot of the things that Nintendo Australia have on their website here that they sell. They go, hey, we brought this over from Tokyo. The prices are the same. Like they're not adding an extra $10 to an item just to make some bit extra cash. So when you add the tax in Japan, and then if you have somebody buy it for you and ship it here, you're going to be paying way more than you would if you bought it direct from Nintendo Australia. Obviously, they don't have the biggest range compared to what you can see in the stores, but the store was great.
So what kind of items do you mean? Because I've never looked myself. What are you talking about specifically?
Well, I mean, like Nintendo Australia was selling there was the Nintendo Travel series. There was travel products, but like Mario themed. So especially when Mario Odyssey came out, there was a lot of like a passport pouch and all that sort of stuff. They did for a while. They've done the Animal Crossing canisters, like these like ceramic little canisters. You put your tea or coffee in and have it on the bench top or something like that. So they've got stuff like that. But when I was there, they were just launching Salmon Run Splatoon 3 line of products. So you get like the actual Salmon Run jacket that they wear in the game. You can have one of those for yourself. The lockers that they have in Splatoon 3, that every player gets their own locker they can customize. They were selling like blind boxes of those. So you buy one of those and do it. I bought a pen that's Nintendo store. It's lying around here somewhere. Book, whole bunch of stuff.
So just going back to the Super Nintendo World. So I've never been to anywhere like Disneyland or like a big theme park or anything. So I don't really know what the ballpark cost of doing that is outside of like spending thousands of dollars of flying overseas to go to somewhere like that, and then hotels, etc. So like you went as just by yourself to Super Nintendo World. So, you don't have to get into specifics or anything, but roughly how much would someone expect to pay if they went on their own to Super Nintendo World, not including travel?
So a ticket, they do what they call it's date-based pricing. So like if it's a weekend, it's slightly more expensive than say like a Monday. And if it's a public holiday, it's even more expensive. But you're looking anywhere from 80 to 100 Australian dollars for a ticket just to get into the park. But obviously, you get the Minions Land, Jurassic Park, not Spider-Man, they closed that the other day. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do outside of Nintendo.
So that's a pass to get to like Universal theme parks in general.
Just to get into like Universal Studios Japan, yeah. So you can spend 2 hours in the Harry Potter land, then go to Nintendo, then go to Jurassic Park, and then spend an hour eating popcorn, watching people enjoy the Minions Land and all whatever. So.
Cool. So that's just to get into the park. So like, what about like rides and things like that as well? So like, for how much would like one day, for example, cost for a regular person?
Like no, that's the thing. So once you pay for your ticket, all the rides and everything are included.
Oh, okay. Because I thought like at a Disneyland, like you pay for like even just taking 10 steps into the damn park.
It used to be that way until like the late 80s, and then they went to a full. You just pay $100, you come in, and all the rides and shows are included. So
right. Okay.
And the rides at Nintendo are obviously Mario Kart, and then there was a Yoshi ride. And unfortunately, I am too tall and fat to ride the Yoshi ride, so I didn't get to ride it. But I had to laugh at this. The number of times I hit my head on the trains in Tokyo because they've got the handrails. And obviously, I'm tall. I'm taller than the average Japanese person. So the amount of times I hit my head on those things was insane. But I would do it. I'd be on my phone. I'd be looking at my phone, just like checking something, and I'd look up, and I'd be literally an entire head above the crowd. Like everyone would be, up to my shoulders, and they'd just be like doing whatever they're doing. And the number of times that happened, I'm like, man, either they're really short or I'm quite tall. But yeah, Japan's, obviously built for Japan. So the attendant at the Yoshi ride, obviously I couldn't ride it because I literally couldn't sit in the seat. It was too condensed in. But he walked me through the queue, so I got to take a bunch of photos of the actual queue. So I got to see it. It's all themed to Yoshi's Island from the Super Nintendo, so it's that style of things everywhere, and it was super cute. I'm not crushed. I didn't get to ride it because it's basically a 2-minute just loop through some scenes from Yoshi games. But it would have been fun to have just done it to say I've done it. So, but yeah, it looks so cool.
That's awesome. What about the food? Did you get to eat any of the food at the restaurant?
No, because it was a 2-hour wait to get in, and most of the food was mushroom based in some form or another. And I'm like, I'm not the biggest fan of mushroom, and I'm not 2-hour waiting in line for mushroom fan. So, I did pick up some Mario cookies, so I got some biscuits from there, and I got some strawberry candies that I turfed because I don't do strawberry. But it came inside a Mario snowman because it was Christmas time, so they had Mario themed Christmas decorations everywhere. And so I've got him sitting in another room. And yeah, it was just one of those things that I just saw and I was like, I have to buy that. It was soft and it's like a pencil case sort of thing. So it's very cool.
That was awesome. So how long did you spend in Super Nintendo World in that case?
In the land itself, I was there for about 2 hours. It's not massive. And obviously with that power-up band that's there, you can go around, you can punch question blocks, you can play games. And once you earn enough coins, you can go battle Bowser Jr. in the Shadow Battle. And people have recorded it, and I'll put some footage up in the screen here. But it's literally your shadow is captured by cameras, and you're interacting with the projection of Bowser Jr. It's literally a video game, and you're literally smacking things around to try and hit Bowser Jr. and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really cool. They have this land in Hollywood. So if you're over in Los Angeles, it's there. They're currently building it in Orlando alongside the Donkey Kong expansion. And that Donkey Kong expansion, Vookcast reported on a couple of months ago. It's opening up in a few months in Japan. And the plans are to build one in Singapore, but who knows what that's going to do, if they're going to do that one. But if you get the chance to go and you're a Nintendo fan, you owe it to yourself. Because it's like stepping into the games. It's like stepping into a world that I've known for 40 years. So, yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Alrighty. Let's move on to our featured discussion. So, at the start of every single year, we make some predictions. Usually they're not the most accurate predictions, but, we still make them, and sometimes we get them right. So, yeah, we're going to look back at the predictions that we made last year and make some new predictions for the year ahead. So, Michael actually did very, very well in his predictions last year, with 2 whole predictions that he got right out of 4. So, his predictions were that we'll see footage of Metroid Prime 4, which we did not. For the second year in a row, he predicted Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD coming to Switch, which unfortunately did not happen. He did say that
Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
I just completely blanked on what that series is called. Yeah, Advance Wars Reboot Camp would release in the first half of 2023, which it did. Released in like April-ish. Yeah. And then for his BS prediction, he said that a new F-Zero GX remaster or a new F-Zero game would be announced and released in 2023. And it's kind of a monkey paw situation there, because a new F-Zero game was announced and released in 2023, but it was not an F-Zero GX remaster.
Yeah, that point feels a little dirty, because no one wanted it to work out like that.
No. But yeah, so you did get F-Zero GX. I think I did the worst. No, Luke did the worst. I did the second worst. I said that Metroid Prime 4 was going to be released. We still haven't even seen it. I said that there was going to be a bunch of DLC and not really much else, and that's sort of true. There was a lot of DLC, but there was a lot of other stuff as well. I said there was going to be a bunch of Pokemon spin-off games, and we got one. Yeah,
you
Pokemon
got two
Sleep.
if you include Palworld. So
But that was this year.
Yeah, so we got Pokemon Sleep, which I guess technically is a game. It's a sleep tracking app, but one still isn't heaps.
We also got Detective Pikachu. That finally released, so.
But yeah, I also said that Nintendo was gonna let an indie developer make a 2D Mario game, which unfortunately did not happen.
They let their C team make a Mario game, though.
Yeah, Mario Wonder was very, very good. But yeah, Angelo, you got 1.5 correct according to this. So you said that Metroid Prime 4 and Nintendo's next gen console will be announced for 2024. Now that didn't happen last year, but it could still happen. It could still both be announced for 2024. You won't get any points for that, but if it happens and it's coming out this year, then you still technically called it.
I think a lot of people were still expecting that one anyway, so it'd be kind of a cheap guess to make.
Yeah, I mean, in our predictions for this year, nobody's said the Switch 2 is coming because it's just the most obvious thing that anybody can think of. So yeah, your other suggestions were predictions rather was that there would be no Switch Pro this year, which there wasn't. You said that the Super Mario Bros. Movie will feature a post-credit scene setting up a spin-off or cinematic universe, which it kind of did. There was a post-credit scene. It just was hinting at a sequel rather than a spin-off.
I also feel like there's a bit of a dirty half point. I'll take it, because I'm a dirty person, but I did specifically say setting up a spin-off or cinematic universe rather than a sequel, and I feel like this is more setting up a sequel. But
you could argue that it could be a Yoshi-based movie as well. That it could just be Yoshi on his own, because we don't know anything. So that's why I was like, it's sort of.
I think it'll be a sequel to Super Mario, though. But yeah,
more than likely. But
you also said that there would be ARMS too, which no.
Which I'm actually genuinely surprised by. I actually thought that there might be an ARMS 2 at some point. But
I think ARMS 2 is still going to happen someday. I don't think they'll just one and done it. I think it's very possible that they want to do something more with that IP, but obviously not
ARMS
last
2
year.
For Switch 2. 2 ARMS, 2 Switch.
And Luke, you got nothing right. So you said that yours were the most outlandish, so
Yeah.
You said that Metroid Prime 4 would be revealed in April, with a date in September, which neither of that happened. I feel like you should actually get half a point for this next one, because you said NDQ will announce a new Mario Party, but no DLC plans announced, and we didn't get any DLC plans for existing.
Yeah, but I was referring to the new Mario Party. They'd announce a new game, and there would now be no DLC for that new game, so.
I mean, fair. This is so the Switch 2 would be announced in March with a launch in May.
That was an insane Hail Mary. I cannot believe you made that prediction.
It was such a bonkers prediction.
I'm still just flabbergasted by that thought process.
It was never going to happen, but props to you for making the suggestion.
I'm out of the 4. I wanted my BS one to be the one that was real.
Yeah, so your BS one was that Atlas announces a Snowboard Kids remaster collection, which includes 1 and 2, and then collectors of the second game would complain that their cards, which are very expensive online, have no value now. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But we're still holding out hope.
Atlas announced a whole bunch of remasters, just not for Snowboard Kids.
Yeah. So yeah, Michael, you got.
Before we jump in, I want to point out too. The other day, literally saw the 5th anniversary of the Metroid Prime 4 reboot reveal, where they said, "Hey, development hasn't gone where we expected. We're restarting, giving it to Retro." So it's now been 5 years since development restarted, and we still have no clue on what the hell is going on with that game.
It didn't even reboot the logo.
That's why I was so like low key with my prediction. I was like, I mean, surely we'll get like a trailer or something, right? Not even that. Not even like a hint. I don't think they even discussed the game, let alone like dropped a trailer. It was wild.
We see it. We see it every 3 months in their financial updates. It just says Metroid Prime 4 TBA.
Yeah,
I might even say working title next to the name.
It does say working title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wonder how. I wonder how big this game will be, because like that's the thing is like Metroid has never been a tentpole Nintendo property that they really like rely on a significant amount of earnings from, right? It's famously sort of like cast aside almost by Nintendo, like, oh yeah, sure, there's a Metroid game here, we're gonna move on now, because they just expect it to not sell particularly well, which is so disappointing because they're, you know, on average very good. But I mean, this game will be in development for 5 years now. Like we now know when development started for this game. They announced that they were rebooting development, so we know when it started. It was roughly around 5 years ago, like a week ago or something like that. So I just wonder how big this game is going to be if Nintendo and Retro are really like putting so much time into it. If they're actually going to try and make this into a big deal, particularly if it launches alongside the Switch 2.
Yeah, I wonder if at this point either they're going to do just a Switch 2 launch, like just completely, like it's not even going to come out on Switch, or if they'll pull like a Zelda series of old where it'll like be like the last Heyday game on Switch and a launch title, but like a title that releases on Switch too as well.
A cross-gen game. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like Nintendo doesn't predominantly rely on a new Metroid game to be like their big blockbuster success. So I would imagine if they were to release this one like this year alongside a Switch 2, it would have to be backwards compatible with the Switch.
I'm just going to argue we should all get a half point, because we all predicted Metroid Prime 4, but we got Metroid Prime 4 Switch, you know, with the remaster. I honestly think the remaster came about...
Can we kick Luke?
I know. I was reaching for that one. But I also think the Metroid Prime remaster came about for engine development's sake as well. I think there was some work they wanted, you know, to road test the engine.
Like brand recognition as well, right? Just to get a Metroid Prime game out there.
Yeah, but I think at some point they were doing work on the engine, and they will have done some, you know, upscaling of like maybe the first area. And I think, you know, that eventually became the remaster that we know because Iron Galaxy did that work. But I think I want to hope that Retro were doing some engine stuff, which is how we got that remaster. That's how we know for sure that Wind Waker
Retro did some. Yeah, we know for sure that Retro did some engine stuff on Metroid Prime Remastered because it's Retro's in-house engine. And we know that. I mean, they've been using it for like 20 years now, and we know that this is the most up-to-date version of that engine that has existed so far. So they have updated the engine in some way for that. Whether or not that's, you know, gonna carry over into Prime 4, I guess we'll see. But yeah. I think honestly Prime 4 has probably been done for a little while now. If not like 100% polished, like content complete for sure. Because Nintendo tends to sit on games for a while. But I don't think Metroid Prime...
That's the other thing, right? It could have been done like 2 years ago and they're just sitting on it like they do with like Pikmin games.
Yeah. But I don't think it'll sell spectacularly well, and I don't think there's any amount of marketing that could make it sell spectacularly well. But I think it'll probably do better than any of the other Metroid Prime games, but that's a low bar to clear.
I mean, the Prime Remaster sold better than Bayonetta 3 and Bayonetta the Lost Witch, whatever the hell that one was called.
Yeah. So yeah, but Bayonetta 3 came out with like huge problems, or with a scandal essentially, with the change of voice actress. So that wouldn't have helped it either.
Anyway, Michael, because you got the most points, most correct predictions last year, this year you can give us your predictions first.
Okay, well, while on the subject of Metroid Prime 4, that Metroid Prime 4 will release this year. To be honest, like, I actually don't even know if that's going to happen. Like, it's in there, but who knows? But I put on there as well that maybe it'll launch with Switch 2 this year, but I also think that's probably unlikely, but I guess we'll see. It really depends on when they intend to actually release Switch 2. But yeah, it'd be nice to see. It'd be cool if they did put in some work to make it like way more polished on Switch 2, if it's gonna be like a cross-gen game. Or maybe that'll be like the way they show off how cross-gen works on Switch 2. That'd be a nice way of doing it as well. But yeah, that's definitely my number one. Next one is Mario Kart 9 / Mario Kart Ultimate this year. That one I think would probably launch with Switch 2. But like that's a definite like this is gonna sell a bajillion. Obviously Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has basically sold like 1 to 2 with Switches at this point. Like it's almost insane. And I feel like if they launch that with Switch 2, that would just every single Switch 2 owner will own a copy of Mario Kart, like hands down. And I do hope that it's more the Mario Kart Ultimate idea of Mario Kart, because I think that'll be incredible to have like an Ultimate version with like just an insane amount of levels, insane amount of characters from the Mario Kart universe / Nintendo universe, all the music, all that type of jazz, right? I think it would just be awesome. And, you know, we'll be able to see levels that haven't been made for Mario Kart Mobile and ported over to the Mario Kart 8 universe, because that would just look way better.
Yeah.
Number 3, for the 3rd year in a row, Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess Remastered. It's coming this year, boys. Lock it in. I feel like if it doesn't come out this year, it ain't coming out. Again, unless they release it on Switch 2, which I think would just be the wildest fuck you to everyone on Switch. But if it's coming out, it'll be this year for Switch. That's like a end of Switch lifetime like release, which would be really cool. Because I still think they would just be amazing ports to have on the Switch. They were so nice on Wii U, and I feel like Switch could definitely do a great job with them. And as for my BS prediction, that the Switch 2 will launch this year, and no one will be disappointed by any of Nintendo's choices, which
well,
is just not going to happen.
This week alone. We've already got rumors that it's going to have an LCD screen.
Oh, God. Yeah, like, I think it's just... Obviously, there's been some discussion in the Vookcast Discord about it as well. Look, I think everyone would know my opinion is that I think that's dumb. I think it should launch with OLED. Like, I think it's... Like, why would you just waste time re-releasing a console in the future and launching with a worse model? Like, is it going to cost a little bit more? Probably. Like, I guess. But God, LCDs are they're just so out of date at this point. I can't remember who it was. Someone mentioned, maybe they will launch with like a mini LED LCD version instead of like an OLED. And I'm like, I think that's probably going to be even more expensive, to be honest. So it's probably that'll be just like an awful idea. But yeah, I think it's going to be wild when Nintendo actually announces what their Switch 2 is and what their idea is behind it. There's going to be a lot of controversy, and I can't wait to tear it apart.
I think it's going to be fun because, like, you know, when they announce it, right, they're just going to say like, 8-inch touchscreen, 1080p, and like give zero more details.
Yeah. I'd be amazed if it's 1080p.
No, I think it's still going to be 720p because there's not really much reason to do more than that. Yeah. All right, great suggestions. I don't think there's any chance that the last one comes true. But,
I will argue Mario Kart Ultimate. I've thought for years Mario Kart All Stars, where they just bring in a whole bunch of Nintendo characters like Zelda and Animal Crossing. Imagine a Metroid themed course.
Again, that's also like part of that. That's like what I think. Just like an ultimate version of Mario Kart, like whatever that looks like.
See, I would just love them to sort of just go back and like just bring in a whole bunch of other like kart game characters. Like, you know, they make a deal with Microsoft, obviously, because those two are, you know, friends with benefits at this point, to try and get like Banjo-Kazooie in and some characters from like Diddy Kong Racing or something, and then even try to get like Activision in or whoever owns the Banjo-Kazooie, the Crash Bandicoot license, and try to get
that would be
Crash
Microsoft.
That'd be Microsoft.
Oh yeah, of course.
Activision
You're
right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. There you go, boys. Easy. We got Crash.
But that's what I mean, right? Like you do it exactly the same plan that they did with Smash Brothers, right? Where they release DLCs and DLCs have
characters,
various characters and levels and music or whatever it is, right? And
I feel like
it's the same plan.
I feel like with Smash that worked so well because there were so many characters in a lot of like action games and fighting games, etc., or even just characters that are too cutesy that you wouldn't expect them to be in there. But if they can get some like cool characters from like cool kart racing games, that'll be so good.
There was a Konami kart racing game that had Goemon from Mystical Ninja, so
yeah, boy. Let's get my boy Ebizumaru in there.
I'll
Sonic
accept that
All-Stars.
if
Sonic All-Stars,
Garfield is in there, because there was the Garfield car racing, and Hello Kitty, because there was a Hello Kitty car racing as well. If both of those are in there, then it will truly be the ultimate game.
We'll get Anakin in from Pod Racer. Ultimate baby.
All right, Angelo, you got the second most amount of points. Tell us your predictions.
So my first one, I mean, my predictions are pretty lame. I feel, at least. We'll see. My first prediction is Nintendo will increase the cost of Nintendo Switch Online shortly after the new system releases. I don't think this is a particularly cynical decision behind it on Nintendo's part. I think it is more because, you know, new system coming out, they'll probably have more offerings. They'll expect that a lot of people probably still use their original Switches. Not saying that they might not bring a lot of those things over to the new Switch, you know, like the retro apps or anything like that. But they'll probably say, you know, we're increasing the value of the service, so therefore we want to increase the cost to sort of match that. I think that's probably a fair expectation. My second is an announcement for a new 3D Mario adventure. Specifically like a spiritual successor to Odyssey. Odyssey was in 2017, so it's been a long time since we've seen our boy backflipping across deserts and things. So maybe we'll get a new 3D Mario.
I thought about putting that down for one of mine, but I was like, I don't know if they would do it directly after a year of releasing a Mario, like a different Mario game. But who knows? Nintendo's wild at this point.
I can totally see that. I'm just trying to think of like the big Christmas game, right? Like if the rumors are saying that potentially the Switch 2 might come out in like around September or something, right? So obviously they'll need like a new game apart from like potentially Metroid 4, which, let's face it, no one buys Metroid. They'll want a big game for the holiday season. Could be a Mario game. My third prediction, presuming the Switch 2 has a dock like the original Switch, that dock will increase graphical power to the system when hooked up to a TV for 4K gaming. So in other words, it'll just have like, you know, another like smaller GPU in there to give it like a 10-20% boost just to upscale it a bit to 4K. Who knows if that'll translate to 60 FPS gaming? Probably not, but you know.
We see that tech all the time with laptops. You know, they'll have external card holders for your, you know, desktop GPUs, so it's not unheard of. The Asus ROG had one.
I genuinely hope that isn't true. Like, I feel like on like a surface level, it feels like a great idea, but I think on like a real world level, it's just going to be so complicated. Like, and it's just going to make development for Switch 2 super complicated, and it's going to make the cost of everything just insane. Because like the way those other systems work, they don't like work in tandem with that external GPU. That external GPU just becomes the new GPU, right? So if they were doing it like that, that means that GPU is going to be insanely powerful, which means it would cost a ton of money. If they're doing it in tandem, like it works in some type of like 2 GPU process, that stuff's just gone. Like no, people do not want to work with multiple GPUs anymore. It didn't work on Saturn. VDP 1 and 2, it was a nightmare. It like 2 GPUs and like PCs is gone. Like that's just awful. So if it does anything, maybe it'll be like a separate chip to help with like upscaling. Like, and they don't put that inside the Switch to maybe save like money or like power usage. But I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. So it's literally just to make the experience of playing it on a larger TV just better. Not necessarily to make, you know, make better clarity for like an open world game or anything like that. Like a Zelda, like playing it handheld is crap, and then playing it on the TV, it's suddenly better or anything like that. It's just like a literal, like a scaling thing where like it performs just as well either in handheld and full screen. Because we already kind of get that with the Switch anyway, right? Like when you play it in handheld, it downscales the game to fit the resolution of the Switch screen, and then you put it into the dock, and then it gets that little bit more extra sort of electricity in there. Yeah, and then my BS prediction is a Nintendo-published game will be embroiled in an AI scandal. And by this I mean is that like it doesn't have to be a Nintendo-developed game, but it'll potentially be a game that's published by Nintendo, where someone just doesn't disclose that they use some AI voicing or something like that to do some to make a character speak in a particular way, or maybe there's some art that gets stolen or something like that. But AI is becoming used way more widely, way too quickly, that I feel like some things are going to go under the radar until it doesn't, until someone catches it out.
I feel like that's such a beautiful 2024 prediction. Like, it's just like peak 2024 AI controversy.
I mean, my joke one was going to be like Mario gets involved in a sex scandal, but I'm like, no, this is a little more real, probably more likely. Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Samsung just announced they just released the new 24, whatever it is. And I saw people literally comparing the specs are the same year on year, except the big marketing thing on this one is it has AI on it. It's like, okay.
Dude, the place I'm living at the moment in Sydney, our washing machine supposedly has AI in it to give a better like washing experience. What the hell does that mean?
What?
Like literally on the front, it's like uses AI to give a better washing experience or something. Like whatever, that means nothing.
I missed this Samsung news. So the specs are the same as the previous year's model. Is that what you're saying? Besides AI,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, I get it. Like, I feel like. Oh, sorry.
So,
I thought this was the Ultra. My bad. Yeah. Okay.
No, so like the regular models have the same specs as last year's Ultra.
Oh right, okay, I understand.
And then the Ultra in this one is I think it's a little bit better, but yeah, AI is the whole attracting point there. Which, sure. But no, I think that's good because I don't think Nintendo would like sort of intentionally go for AI stuff, given how much Nintendo as a company like values artistry. But like having a third party.
Nintendo's kind of the company that you wouldn't expect to have any sort of like real AI usage, particularly when they're developing games, right? They have such incredible artists.
Yeah.
They've got a wealth of their own properties to pull from and ideas and everything. Like, that's why I think this will be, if it does happen, it would be such a huge moment.
Yeah.
Although
absolutely.
they'll join the other Japanese developers going down controversies at the moment. Obviously, Square Enix is going down AI path. Capcom is DRMing all their PC games. Like, it's just wild.
Squaresoft has been in a weird like circus league of its own, right? With like NFTs and things like that in their games. Like, no one knows what's going on over there.
They genuinely like they have to be like some guys at Square who are just like, oh yeah, what are the tech bros on Twitter with like blue checks talking about this week, and then put that in the press release.
I feel like the board of Square Enix is going to all the same cocaine parties as all the Silicon Valley boys and just like just riffing on ideas over there.
Yeah. All right. I was next on the list. So I think for my first prediction that there's going to be a new Golden Sun game announced. It may not necessarily come out, but I think like maybe just like when the Switch 2 gets announced, there's like a sizzle and we just see like a glimpse of like a 3D like Golden Sun game. I think
it'd be nice to get a third Golden Sun game.
It would be nice to get a third Golden Sun game. So yeah, that's my big thing. I think the reaction to Golden Sun on Nintendo Switch Online was like really, really strong. Yeah.
And I think because they had 12 months to build it up.
Yeah. My second prediction is that a Final Fantasy spin-off or remake will come to Switch. That's like the safest prediction in the world, but
yeah, I feel like this is pretty much a given, man.
I mean, like it something that like comes to Switch sort of day one, not something that is like, it's been on other things for ages or whatever. Like it has to be a remake, not a remaster. So like if they upscale Final Fantasy fucking 11 or whatever. That's not going to happen. It's an MMO. Or like if they remaster 13 and then like put that on Switch, that doesn't count. It needs to be like a proper ground up remake or a new spin-off that comes to Switch on day one. What's that?
Maybe
13's on Switch, isn't it?
No, it's the only one that isn't in the MMO between 1 and 15 that isn't on Switch.
If I may request, could you maybe reword that just to give it a little bit of specificity in that case? Like a bespoke remake or remaster or something like that.
Ground up remake. There we go. Just to be clear.
So I was thinking of 10 and 10 too.
Yeah. Angelo's not giving away any of those points.
I just thought that's a little too broad.
Yeah. No, it has to be either a ground up remake. So let's say they like decide they're remaking Final Fantasy VI from the ground up, that counts, or a new spin-off that isn't already on other platforms, or a remaster or whatever. My third prediction is a new Pokemon Let's Go game, because a new game is going to be announced this year. It's probably going to be announced next month, even on Pokemon Day. And I don't think it's going to be like a big, full, like Legend style game, or it's certainly not going to be like a big, proper main series game like Scarlet and Violet. So Let's Go just feels like the right place for it to be. And the last one did amazingly well. So
yeah,
I think a Let's Go game is probably going to be it. My BS suggestion is that there's going to be 2 screens on the Switch too. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that it's going to be like a DS. It's just going to be in some way 2 displays. Right, now whether that's like there's a little display on the controller or whatever, regardless, as long as there's 2 displays in the box when you open up your Switch 2, that's my prediction. So
Switch 2 with the VMU, okay.
I was going to say like a VMU, or even like smart glass, you use your phone.
I will say, for Ollie, with the Golden Sun thing, Camelot Software, who make Golden Sun, and again, I did the research on this. For the past 20 years, they've released a new game every 2 years without fail.
Yeah.
The last 2 games they've done are Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. They're the only sports games they make. Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. We get 1 for each platform, and then they move on. They're due for a game this year. They've already done Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. Will they do Mario Baseball, which we've had baseball games in the past? Maybe. Will they do basketball? Unlikely, because, why would you go to a Japanese studio for a basketball game? But they are definitely due for a game. So, I'm not saying they're doing anything, but Golden Sun could be the winner there.
Fingers crossed. I would say
2 screens on a Switch would be interesting. Obviously, it'll be wild if they did a DS type thing. I think that'd be insane, but I don't think that's going to happen. But it'd be interesting to see what they would do on a second screen on a controller. But I feel like that's just adding another pain point to Nintendo controllers that they just don't need. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
I'm just imagining it being one of those e-reader screens, but across the top, like a little bar. So when you're looking down at the Switch, it'll have all your notifications.
A little ticker?
Yeah.
Yeah, your stock prices come across on your Switch controller.
That's it.
Well, what I was thinking, right, is what if they just do the thing that everybody's gonna hate, replace the D-pad altogether, just put in a little screen, and then that's the D-pad, and then it can be contextual.
Why would you even put that into the world? Why would you even suggest that a thing like that would happen?
See, but it's the kind of thing that Nintendo would do, right? If they were going to put a screen on a controller, they would just get rid of the D-pad, because the screen can be the D-pad.
Yeah, they'll be this is how we got rid of drift, guys.
The Steam controller from years ago, and now the Switch, the Steam Deck, they've got that weird touch panel thing that's not really a stick, but behaves more like a stick. I could see something like that making the jump over, but I wouldn't see them doing a 1-inch squared display in lieu of it. That wouldn't make sense.
No, that's exactly why I think Nintendo is going to do it.
That'd be such a wild change to force upon everyone, is to remove the control stick and replace it with a touchpad.
I mean, we saw Apple do that with the headphone jack. They were like, "No, you don't need that anymore," and now everyone's just like, "Okay, fine, that's fine. We've adjusted."
Luke, give us your predictions.
Okay, so mine. I'm playing it a little safer this year than I did last year, but So my first prediction is that Kirby and the Forgotten Land 2 will be announced. Mostly I say this because we didn't get the slew of Kirby games that we normally get every year last year. We only got the one, and that was a remake. And Vanpool, who unfortunately have closed down now, they did the bulk of the work on that one. So I suspect HAL have been working on something new, and Forgotten Land did fairly well for them. So a sequel to that makes sense. My second prediction is that a new Fire Emblem game will be released. It will not have a toothpaste hair protagonist, unlike the last one. I don't know if it's going to be.
That's a detail that you're going to fall on there.
It's fine if I fall on it. It's just toothpaste. But no, the last one had that red and blue hair. So people were calling the character Crest because the Crest toothpaste was that.
I still think that would have been acceptable if it took the colors of your Joy-Cons and that's what the hair was. So like if you had full red Joy-Cons, then red hair, we could swap them up. But they didn't do it, so disappointing.
That would have been cool, but that's probably why they didn't do it, because it would have been cool.
Yeah.
And then my third prediction is that Xenoblade Chronicles X will be released on Switch as a deluxe version. It's one of those rare Wii U holdouts. And when I say rare Wii U holdout, I don't mean things like NES Remix or Dr. Luigi, shit like that. I'm talking about like an actual proper full game that's still stuck there, joining the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HDs. So yeah, we only have a few of them left that are actually worth bringing over. So I suspect that'll come over this year. And it's been a while since that team's done a game on their own. And then my BS prediction is that both Star Wars Jedi games from Respawn will make the jump to Switch as launch day titles.
Jesus.
And the reason why I'm putting this in here is because the first one was a PS4 and Xbox One game as well. So if Switch 2 adds a bit more oomph, it probably would run. But they're also downgrading Jedi Survivor. They're making PS4 and Xbox One versions of that. So if they're already downgrading it to run on older hardware, to have it run on Switch 2 probably wouldn't be too much of a stretch from that point either. So
yeah, but there's too much reasoning behind that one, Luke. It's not a BS prediction.
I think it's a BS because it's EA and it's just not going to happen. A1 support from EA on a Nintendo console? Zero chance.
Yeah.
Anything EA Originals branded generally comes to Switch. Anything EA itself, generally not. So
yeah.
The newest Jedi game doesn't even run well on the current generation. I can't imagine what it's going to be like. I wouldn't be surprised if that gets canned for the older gen, to be honest.
They haven't literally, until apart from the announcement in a investor call that it was happening, there's been nothing on it since.
Yeah.
The only thing that the studio did push out another update earlier this year. A couple of weeks ago. So they've been working on fixing the game up. It just shouldn't have released in the state it did. The only thing that sort of worries me with that series now is that the Stig Asmussen, whatever his name is, he left Respawn, and he was the guy that's sort of leading the charge on that series. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, they're my predictions for 2024.
Interesting that no one made any predictions about ray tracing on the Switch 2 or anything like that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, like, I the ones I am surprised that nobody made a prediction about is Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom remasters for Switch 2. So I feel like that's probably a slam dunk.
I was going to make a prediction about backwards compatibility, but I feel like that's already been like a pretty widely discussed point that people are sort of umming and ahhing over whether or not Nintendo would do that. So,
but the other one that I'm thinking about, I'm like, maybe is a new Animal Crossing game.
Yeah. So this is something that people have been talking about, like even just like the past month or so. Is it like, is there going to be a launch title Animal Crossing? And I think like if Nintendo has the development capacity to do it, they will. But if they don't, then, what are you going to do? And they're not going to go to a third party to make Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
There's usually quite long lulls between Animal Crossings, though. And I feel like we're only coming up to 4 years since the last one, which I know is a stupid thing to say, only 4 years. I feel like there's still some time to give there between like the last Animal Crossing game and a new one.
Yeah.
But then again, the last one sold so much.
Well, that's the thing. And like Animal Crossing is 100% one of the big three for Nintendo. Yeah. Like it's Mario, Zelda.
I know that Animal Crossing I didn't only do well because of the pandemic, right? Like obviously the game is good and deserves to have sold well. But it definitely got boosted by that, right? Like big time. Like that was just the perfect storm of like game releasing. But I feel like that's now just pushed out the franchise into so many people's minds now. Like so many people know about it and enjoy it and want to play it. So I feel like it would just be a slam dunk for them to release a new Animal Crossing game.
I should have predicted that Nintendo would release a new Pandemic to go alongside Animal Crossing.
But no, I mean, like, I think the reason that Animal Crossing games have been like few and far between is because the way that they've traditionally gotten sales is by accumulating sales as evergreens across the whole span of a generation of consoles. Animal Crossing New Horizons is very much the exception there, in that it did, 40 million in 2 years. So I think they'll definitely be more frequent going forward. But how more frequent? Like, because the last gap was like 8 years. Could we see a gap of 4 years? Maybe. Especially now that
everyone keeps forgetting that Wii U entry that nobody played because it was a board game.
Yeah, that's
because the last traditional Animal Crossing was
Yeah.
I will say though, if Nintendo make a new Animal Crossing game, they have to support it. They can't just release the game, dump it out, come back out a year later with a random DLC, and then call it a day.
I think that obviously, I think they were super caught off guard by the popularity of Animal Crossing, like for this particular game, right? And clearly they had a roadmap that they had planned and of stuff that they wanted to do, like for this game, and they sort of just like stuck to that and didn't really change it, which is, it's the most Nintendo thing. That's totally fine, right? But I do hope in the future that they do not. I don't want like a full like microtransaction level like mess of like DLC for Animal Crossing, but I would like it to be supported in the sense that they do more like seasonal things, right? That come out of nowhere, that they add into the game, and make it a little bit more community driven. And obviously to do that, they need to make the multiplayer experience not a heaping piece of shit that it is now. And again, this is they were caught off guard. There's so many limitations. They screwed themselves over with how the save games works. Like they can hopefully build all that stuff into like a new game now and like plan it to work properly. Like, but I guess
my thing is more just that, and I'll just, Coral Island's a relatively new release. It's still in early access, but it's that sort of style. Disney Dreamlight Valley is another one of those sort of games. There are so many of these games now that basically take Animal Crossing as its inspiration and, do their own thing. And they've all got pretty consistent content drops, usually for free. And it's like, if these games are on Switch 2, why would people give up progress on that game to go to Animal Crossing when a year from now, or they've seen all the content Animal Crossing has to offer? And, that's sort of my thing now. It's like, every other developer that's making this style of game has caught up to Nintendo with Animal Crossing style stuff, and now they've blown past it. And Nintendo, unfortunately, like to sit on their thumbs far too long on a lot of things. And I think for a game like this, they really need to make sure they're not saying deliver everything that other companies are doing, but they need to actually say, hey, if you want to play our game for 3 years, for 4 years, for 5 years, you're going to actually have stuff you can enjoy doing in that time, rather than just repeating the stuff you've done.
I think the big issue with this one is that no one could have predicted the pandemic, and people, like myself included, we burnt through a ton of the content in such a short period of time just because everyone had time to do things. Whereas like usually that type of content would have been spread over such a larger period of time.
So let's quickly go over the games we're playing. I'll go first just because I have so many. I'm not going to talk extensively about all of them, but I've been playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I played that for review, very good. The Ace Attorney Apollo Justice trilogy, played that on PC. Pretty pretty fun there. It has some weird mouse and keyboard issues, but you just play it with the controller anyway. The Prince of Persia, whatever that one's called, The Lost Prince. Played a little bit of that. It's very, very good. I've been playing the preview for Solemn Infernum, which is a 4X strategy game, kind of like Civ, made by the Australian company League of Geeks, and it's very, very good. It's got an asymmetrical multiplayer system where basically you like log into the game, like take your turn, and then it all plays out once everybody's taken their turn. So you could have a game that runs over the space of a year, because everybody has like a week to finish their turn. So yeah, really, really neat multiplayer system. I've played a bit of Penny's Big Breakaway. I can't talk too much about that because it's not out yet. Phantom Abyss 1.0, that came out, also Australian, very, very good. And I just started Tekken 8 this morning, and I'm enjoying beating the shit out of people with a panda. So yeah, that's me. Michael, you've got one game listed here.
One game, yeah. I've just been playing Hell Let Loose with a mate on PC. He just came up randomly, he started playing it, and then I was like, this looks neat, you want to play together? And he's like, sure. And now we are just playing all the time now. But basically it's a World War II sim-ish like shooter. Like, I wouldn't say it's like super sim, but like it definitely has like a proper like command structure in place. So it's 50v50 teams. One person plays the commander, and then you have a alphabet of squads, literally A to Z, if as many squads as you want. One person plays a squad leader inside of a squad with up to, I think, 5 other players. Squad leaders can communicate with each other and the commander, and then they communicate orders to the squad. But yeah, it's really, really cool. Very, very tactical game, and I'm having a blast.
And
me and my mate play. Go.
And initially developed in Australia.
Oh, didn't know that. Yeah, me and my mate play a recon squad. So we just play a sniper team. He plays the spotter, I play the sniper. And we just infiltrate behind enemy lines and cause havoc, and it's beautiful. Super, super fun. And I will be playing Apollo Justice when it arrives. I got the physical version on pre-order. And it still hasn't shipped because, of course, why would things ship on time? So
yeah,
I'll get it at some point.
Angelo, what have you been playing lately?
I don't remember if I mentioned it last time I was on the podcast, however long ago that was. But my partner and I have been playing Paper Mario on the N64 Switch app. And what's great about playing games multiplayer on the retro apps is that they basically run like a concurrent stream. Basically, you've got the game loaded on both systems, but you play locally on one person's account. So even though this is a single player game, it's literally just like passing the controller over to someone else. And if you've got a good connection, it works flawlessly. It's actually really, really cool. Probably one of the coolest things that Nintendo has done with an online system that I've ever seen before. And it's taken us this long to get around to using something like this. So I highly recommend playing games this way if you want to play like, Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo with some friends online. It's really, really good. But yeah, really enjoyed that. My girlfriend's a huge fan of the Paper Mario games. She's been played Color Splash and the Origami King and loved them. And we're basically going back and starting again. So we played Paper Mario, waiting for Thousand Year Door to finally come out. And we'll keep going through the series that way. Although, don't know how we're going to get Super Paper Mario because that's Switch locked at this. Wii locked at this point. But we'll figure something out.
Have you guys played Paper Mario before? This is your first time playing?
I played it when it first came to Virtual Console. 2008, something like that. I remember it being long, but then playing through it this time, I didn't remember it being this long. And I don't remember much about what happened in that game at all. So it was great play, super great. And I'm so impressed that it was an N64 game. Like the writing in it is just incredible.
It is super incredible. It's so funny.
When I think of N64 era games, I don't think of really well written games. There are obviously JRPGs and stuff, and we've got Final Fantasy, but even Final Fantasy VII wasn't fantastically written.
I wish I could go back in time and slap myself for not playing it as a kid. I think it came out right when I was 16, and I was like, oh, this stupid baby game with baby graphics. Get out of here. I'm playing CS 1.6 and shooting dudes in the face.
And the funny thing about this one is like it's called Paper Mario, but it's like the least paperish of the Mario games. Like it does some things with like the fact that he's like living on a 2D plane, but it's not like things fold up or scrunch up or anything like that like they do in subsequent games. So yeah, it's fantastic. Absolutely love it. If you've got Switch Online, go back and play it. It's amazing. Been playing Sea of Stars on the Steam Deck. Finally installed Windows on the Steam Deck, got it running, playing Game Pass games. And I'm playing Sea of Stars. It's all right. Not loving it, but I'm committed. And over Christmas, my partner and I played through the 2 Alan Wake games. We didn't play American Nightmare. We just played Alan Wake 1 and then went straight into 2. I really didn't like Alan Wake 1 when I first played it, when it first released. I hated it, really. Appreciated it a lot more this time playing it. And Alan Wake 2 was just phenomenal. Really, really enjoyed that game. It's so weird. It's just great. So that's me.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't super care for Alan Wake 2 when I played that, but I also had like 3 days to play it, so that probably didn't help.
Yeah, we played it on the tail end of my trip here over Christmas, and even then it took us a full week, something like almost 30 hours to play, and the last day or two, like we were just really steamrolling. We're like, we got to finish this game because I fly back tomorrow, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Luke.
Hi.
What games?
My games.
It's not like you weren't prepared for this.
I'll be honest. I thought Ollie was just going to skip past me,
No.
and then he sort of came back to it. So, I've played through Tekken 8 for review. I'm not the biggest fighting game fan. I find the whole idea of frame counting and millisecond counting, all that bullshit, to be utter tripe.
Millisecond counting?
You're either in that world, like you count everything and you know it, and then you dominate any time you play, or you're not, and you just get owned if you play online. So I just sort of avoid them all. But I've got a special place in my heart for the Tekken series. So I really like Tekken 8. I've been played Phantom Abyss for review, played through that 1.0 update. Hated the fact that I had to delete my save and start again for the review. And then when it finally launched, I had to delete that save and then restored my original save. But it has all the whips unlocked, but it doesn't have any of the runs completed. So it's all sorts of weird. But I still enjoyed it. I finally got through the nightmare of a temple run where they have all 3 guardians at max coming after you at the same time. And because you start that one with just the base whip. There's no special whip for that. It's just base whip, all 3 guardians, 4 rooms, and you go. And even before recording today, I was doing an Abyss run, and every time you progress to a new room in the Abyss run, it adds a new curse. And one of the curses is the 3 guardians, and it happened at the end of the first room. Not like the 4th room from the end or something, but the first of the 12. And then the 3rd or 4th last room, I got a timer added. So I had to get through each room in under 3 minutes. I'm like, you sons of bitches. Just every single time. I'm like, and the worst one was that my whip got 40% shorter. So I didn't have anywhere near the reach that I had normally. I still love that. I think it's a great game. I also played Hitman Blood Money for review. Thankfully, that was an easy game because, I've played it before. Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, also for review. I really liked it. I didn't think it was the best Metroidvania style game I've ever played. It's good, but it just gets a little weird at times with like how much running back and forth you've got to do. And there's an entire character in the story that is just sort of introduced and then ignored. So they don't do anything with this character, so it's really weird. And I've been playing a lot for previews because there's stuff coming up. And I finished God of War Ascension on Thursday on stream as part of that series. So one game down, 9 more to go.
Nice.
Or 8 more to go, whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Alrighty. Let's move on to 20 questions. Michael, you have prepared a game for us, correct?
Yes. Okay. Oh my god, words. Go with the game. Let's go. Is that a stroke? Oh my god.
All you could say was yes. That would have been enough.
Yeah. No. Yes.
All right. We'll start with the usual one then. Was this released on or after the 1st of January 2000?
Yes.
Was this released on or after the 1st of January 2010?
No.
Okay.
All right, so
shake your head, Angelo.
I hate the wording of that question.
Was this released on a Nintendo home console?
Yes, it was.
So thankfully that drops out GBA and DS.
So it's a 2000s game, right?
Yeah.
Yep, cool. All right.
So late 64 or GameCube, really.
Or early Wii.
Yeah. Did this game require motion controls? Or did this game utilize motion controls?
No. I'm gonna go no.
Okay, so it could be a Wii game because he was confused there.
No. Let's just go with no. Just ignore any.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe it was one of those like GameCube games that then got later ported to Wii with motion controls, like the Pikmin games.
Yeah.
We'll just say no motion controls.
Yeah, and ignore that I made a fuss about it. I don't want to confuse you.
Okay.
Was this game released on a disc-based system?
Yes, it was.
So no 64.
I think we probably could have ruled out 64 either way, but
Yeah, but then he would have selected like the last 64 game ever released just to mess with us.
Could have been Dinosaur Planet.
Was this game published by Nintendo?
The game was published by Nintendo.
Okay. Does this game feature any recognizable Nintendo characters?
Yes, it does.
Is this game considered a mainline in its, let's say, series?
I would not say people would say it's a mainline game. No.
Okay.
Four Swords Adventure.
Wasn't there like a Star Fox adventure game?
Yeah.
That was what Dinosaur
Star Fox
Planet became.
Adventure. That was Dinosaur Planet, yeah.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, maybe it's that. I can't think of any other spin-offs, right? Like, unless it's like
I mean, Donkey Konga.
Yeah, there's loads. I mean, even Paper Mario would be. Oh no, that is it's mainline of its own series.
it's definitely its own series. Yeah.
I mean, there was the Dance Dance Revolution Mario mix. That did have motion controls, but it's not a standard controller. So
that has an incredible box art cover with Mario breakdancing.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Okay. Does this game feature multiplayer in any form?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like a mainline Mario game because they're traditionally just single player.
Unless I missed something, you have 11 questions left, or 10 questions and a guess.
Should I specify if it was a GameCube or a Wii game?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Just to narrow down.
Was this game initially released on the GameCube?
Yes, it was.
Does this game... Oh, just trying to think how to word that now. Does this game feature an art style unique to the series it's from?
I would say no. I wouldn't say it does. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a Nintendo characters sort of spin-off game for the GameCube with multiplayer. I think that's all we know so far. Published by Nintendo.
Yeah,
it's published by Nintendo. Yeah.
The reason for my question was because like Four Swords Adventure and that had that cell shaded art style that the Zelda games had for a while. It could be Donkey Konga or Donkey Kong.
Tropical Beat.
Tropical Beat.
Could ask if I use the peripheral, but I don't know if we're quite there yet.
No, I don't think we're there yet. But I was thinking the same question.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here's an old favorite of mine. Does this game feature combat?
No. Unless I'm mistaken, it does not.
All right, it's very unlikely to be Tropical Beat. Because you literally beat enemies down in that game.
Or a game like a Zelda game of some sort where you're shooting arrows or using a sword or something.
It also means it's not melee.
Yeah.
That was a multiplayer game featuring Nintendo characters.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that. That's a good point. So it could be like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Or a racer of some sort.
I don't think they had any other racing games back then that Nintendo produced with their characters.
There was F-Zero GX.
Yeah, I said mainline Nintendo characters.
Yeah, you did.
I suppose that one just depends on how much you want to stretch F-Zero.
All the F-Zero fans are gonna rise up.
The number of F-Zero fans though is in the name.
How many questions is that?
13? We have 7
12.
questions and a guess left.
Okay, so that's 12.
See, like now, part of me's thinking it could be Odama, just because they used the microphone. Or Mario Party.
Alright, here's one. Was this game well received?
Yeah. It was reasonably well received. Yeah.
Okay.
So definitely not Odama then.
So a decent multiplayer game on the GameCube, published by Nintendo.
Was this game released as another entry in an existing series?
Sorry, what?
Like, is this a Mario Party 4 where it's a spin-off, but it's still part of the same series as well?
No.
Okay. I keep coming back to Donkey Konga.
Still don't quite understand. Could it be something like Crystal Chronicles?
I would say there's definitely combat in Crystal Chronicles.
There's also no Nintendo characters.
Right. Oh, you're right.
But my thinking was that, if it was the 4th entry in a series, it'd be there. But if it's like Donkey Konga, that was the first entry in a new series.
Still don't know what genre it is. Could be a racer. It's not an action game. Could be a puzzle game. Could be a party game, although I don't know many party games on the GameCube.
Outside of Mario Party.
Exactly. What other multiplayer genres are there? Could be a sports game. Could be a Mario Strikers or something.
Strikers was there. There was a baseball game. Golf. Tennis.
Should we go with sports?
Yeah. Probably a good one.
Is this a sports game?
This is not a sports game.
Okay. So it must be like a puzzler or a racer.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any Mario game puzzlers on the GameCube.
I'm sure there are some. I just can't think of any. But that'd be Nintendo published.
There was a WarioWare on.
Yeah, but
that's not like a really main series thing, right?
No, so there were two. There was a standard WarioWare minigame collection thing, and then there was the WarioWare Game Boy Treasure, which is a standard platformer.
That's what I'm saying. That's if it was the party one, the WarioWare Inc. or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
WarioWare Party. I don't know. that's kind of a spin-off of a series. Got multiplayer.
It's also not the first game in the series because there was one on GBA first, and then the GameCube version came after.
You could ask if it's a party game.
Yeah, sure. Is this a party game?
I would say people would not. The first genre that would come up would not be party game, but you definitely could play it in a party setting.
Is this a rhythm game?
This game is a rhythm game.
Oh, okay. What were you thinking, Luke?
Donkey Konga.
God damn.
That's all it really can be at this stage, right?
Yep.
Unless it really is Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix.
We could ask if it uses a peripheral.
But yeah, they both use a peripheral.
Yeah, but then you can again ask if it uses a mat or conga. Congas.
Yeah. And we've got 2 questions and a guess. So.
I mean, the fact that they call them congas really annoys me as well because they're bongos, not congas, but whatever. I guess Donkey Bongo.
Yeah, Donkey Bongo doesn't really make as much sense.
No, it doesn't.
Oh god.
Does this game use a plastic instrument peripheral?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just thinking that could probably be a yes for both of those games, but yeah, like sort of. Yes. Yeah. The answer is yes.
I did say plastic instrument peripheral, didn't I?
Yeah, I know, but like, yeah. The answer is yes. Either way.
Okay.
I also just want to point out that Nintendo does call them DK Bongos.
Okay. Good. I'm glad. What the fuck do they call it conga then? That makes me very good. Well, the dance mat, I wouldn't classify that as an instrument.
Okay. Then the answer is yes, regardless.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was directing that to Luke. I wasn't even directing it to you, Michael. So I'm sorry.
Oh, sneaky
only
clarification.
The only thing I know about the Donkey Konga games is that Rock Lobsters. I never played them, so that's all I know about them.
Is the game currently in my hand?
I actually can't read what that says. What's the game? Tell me what it is.
Yeah, he's literally asking if it's Donkey Konga.
I cannot read if okay.
It's the Donkey Konga I bought in Japan.
Okay. Well, yes, the game is currently in your hand.
That's the same as asking is it Donkey Konga. Why didn't you just say that?
Was there?
All right, you have a guess left.
Oh god, go for it, Luke.
Is this game Donkey Konga?
All right, I was going to point out that the Japanese version is slightly different to the English release, so technically I could have said no. Anyway, so releasing on the Nintendo GameCube on October 28, 2004, this game was developed by Namco and published by Nintendo. Follow Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, who come across some mysterious objects that resemble barrels. And then you follow along to the beat, banging these barrel bongos and clapping along to approximately 30 music tracks. This is Donkey Konga. Well done.
Nice.
I was very tempted to choose the second game. And I feel like when you asked that question about is this the first one, that could have really thrown you off. And I so regret not choosing the second game.
I mean, we still took, 17 questions to get there?
Yeah, but I think Luke mentioned it reasonably early, maybe like the 4th or 3rd question.
That's literally because he has the disc in front of his face, though. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, that probably helps.
But that's also because I randomly throw out, games that I think it could be, even though I've got nothing to back that up.
Alrighty. Well, that about wraps up this week's Vookcast. Be sure to visit the site www.vooks.net for all your Nintendo news, reviews, and everything in between. To keep up to date, follow the site on Twitter at Vooks.net. It's also the same on everything else. Or jump on over to our Discord at bit.ly/VooksDiscord. You can also get there. There's a link on the main site now as well. You can find all of our hosts, all of the hosts' social information and links for all of the stories covered in this episode in the episode notes on whatever platform you're listening to. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next fortnight.